Ketivan Gorjistani, international affairs editor here at France 24, has joined me on set. What was Widodo's message to Joe Biden?
Well, there was a very clear message from Joko Widodo. Indonesia appeals to the U.S. to do more to stop the atrocities in Gaza. A ceasefire is a must for the sake of humanity. And those words were spoken on those images as we see them there. This is really a very short statement right before their bilateral. And you can see he was holding his statement in his hand. He spoke in English so that he wouldn't be translated. And he really used that minute or so statement to make that call in front of Joe Biden. He could have said it in private during their bilateral, but he came out and said that in the Oval Office in front of the reporter. So it was really a statement from Joko Widodo. And as you said, he was coming out of that emergency meeting over the weekend, and the ceasefire call, the call for the U.S. to do more, that was something that was discussed there. And he is, as you said, the leader of the most populous Muslim nation. And so he was, in a way, bringing that message from the Muslim world to the United States, which is, of course, the #1 ally of Israel. And a lot of people, especially in the Muslim and the Arab world, understand that if there is one country that can put pressure on Israel, it is the United States. And so this call is coming after some similar calls that were maybe a little bit less public, but condemnation, criticism, calls from the Egyptians, from the Jordanians, even from the Europeans, more subtly, but trying to tell the United States, you need to do more because you're the only ones who have that sort of sway over the Israelis when it comes to how they act, how they behave, how they conduct their war in Gaza.
And it's interesting because that kind of criticism or that nudge to do things a little bit differently or think outside, traditional U.S. policy is also coming from inside Washington, right? So you have people in the State Department who are voicing their criticisms and elsewhere as well in the government, U.S. government, of U.S. policy.
Absolutely. And there's been really a growing wave of dissent coming from the Biden administration, from people who are Democrats, most likely, but also from career diplomats. And that grew so much that the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, had to send a letter, a sort of response to this growing dissent. And he said in that letter, I know that for many of you, the suffering caused by this crisis is taking a profound toll. We understand that some may disagree with the approaches we're taking. We are listening. And the reason he had to answer to this growing dissent is because it's not just one or two people within the State Department that disagrees. It's people using a official channel of dissent, which was created back during the Vietnam War, to express dissent within the State Department. So it's a very official channel. There was also an USAID, the development agency, open letter by 1,000 people from a USAID calling for a ceasefire. There's a State Department official involved in arms transfers, including to Israel, who resigned after the October 7th attacks over his disagreement with U.S. policy, and multiple dissent cables calling for a ceasefire, calling for a prisoner, a swap. Diplomats within the Arab world warning, be careful with your support to Israel. We are losing Arab publics for a generation. So a lot of warnings coming out, and one memo, probably the most critical memo coming out of the State Department, accusing Israel of war crimes and saying we have failed to reassess our posture towards Israel. We doubled down on our unwavering military assistance to the Israeli government without clear and actionable red lines. And there is a criticism about double standards when it comes to Israel versus Ukraine, for example. We have given Ukraine weapons, telling them do not use them to strike Russia on its own territory. Some in the State Department are saying, why don't we put some red lines as to how Israel conducts itself because we give them so many weapons?
Ketivan Gorjistani, thank you so much for that analysis of what's going on in Washington.